Testing 1, 2. Gonna talk a little bit while I'm playing. It's tough for me to play when I'm using both controls, but I'm gonna give it a go here. A little bit of talking. Sometimes when I get into the thick of it, probably less talking, but. Hopefully this is panning out. There's a stream. So yeah, so this is the gym. So if you've been to this, if you've seen me stream in the last couple of months anyways, you see that mostly I've been doing streams from this gym, which someone recognized from this version of the game had this gym. They call it dojo. I call it the gym. It looks like a giant barn. So when the camera's pulled back enough, you can kind of see different stuff. See a heavy bag, some boxes, a mattress, sheet metal wall paneling. So in the ring is Pat O'Connor. He's like the hand of the gym. He's been my mainstay for years. Just like a good hand. He was champion back in the late 50s, early 60s, NWA, and originally from New Zealand, champion of the Commonwealth Games, so legitimate background, went into pro wrestling and toured the country and the world, Japan too. And then mostly when he settled, he mostly homesteaded finally, and he settled down around St. Louis, Kansas City, and he was the booker for Kansas City. But anyways, that's just a little bit of background. Here. Okay. This is Luther Lindsay from Virginia. Played in the CFL in early 50s. He was a top contender. And then the last one, Olympic champion Mijaín Lopez from Cuba, 5-time Olympic champion. So, no, you'll probably notice I don't, generally speaking, it'll just be baby faces in the gym, because like back in the old day when they used to do public workouts, mostly it would be the baby faces that would show, and then the people who could wrestle a bit. So. But anyways, I'm saying words, and hopefully these words are coming through. I'll be able to check the levels by saying words, but we'll get into it a bit. I probably won't talk as much, but I call this fire pro psychology, so a lot of it is not so much the holds and moves, but like the in-between time, like them staring at each other. The less I talk, that means I'm thinking of stuff to do with them, so you're not going to hear me talking much when you see both of them doing stuff, because I'm trying to make them both do stuff. So this is a friendly training session in the gym, so I keep it generally, submissions are short, they get the hold and release and just go to practice. So this is sort of a practice. Sort of a stare down when someone gets a maneuver, sort of stare down the opponents early on, especially. So try a little something here. Let it back go behind another counter into this will be back into a pinning. No count, because it's, they're both their vitality is at 100%, so wouldn't really have pinfalls unless sort of like a sneak pinfall. Here, I'll demonstrate a backslide here. So, and Pat O'Connor and Luther Lindsay are friends, and they're allied to Lopez. They're a lot of the theme of most of the wrestlers I use, the regular ones, not mijaín lópez, but at the ringside, but they usually have some sort of proximity to Lopez, which is like the first wrestler in history that I learned about when I started learning about wrestling history. So, and I got his book, and he shared in his book about these different opponents, and Luther Lindsay and Pat O'Connor both rated highly by Lopez in his book as wrestlers and as people. So. In the gym, I try to avoid strikes because you wouldn't be punching your friend. I mean, you could be practicing working punches in the gym, but let's presume there's not really working, but like this is more, they're from the 50s and 60s era where there's still sort of wrestling oriented. The working is more wrestling. So the counters are more holds. Short arm scissors. Ref way out of position. So those are little things. So I try to pay attention to little things. Like when the ref is way out of position, I'll have him kick out. I'll have him stay down until the ref gets in position. So if the ref is way out of position, a potential 2 count, if he's in position, might become like a 1 count or not even a count at all. So try a flying head scissors here by Pat O'Connor. Counter into a single leg Boston Crab. Sometimes they just keep reapplying the hold. You don't see that a whole lot, but you see him sort of getting to the rope too as he breaks it. I didn't even think of that until I see it now. But sort of he's in the rope. So, and then both being heroes or good guy wrestlers, they would, they sort of follow the rules. You'll see the headlock takedown or cross buttock, or it has different names, but it's a cross buttock. and catch as catch can. You'll see that me use that a lot. That's a lot. That's just one of those holds that I use a bunch. This is a front face lock. You can move them around. When I really get into it, that's when I'm thinking of what to do next. That's when I'll be the most silent. But see, he's down or selling, and Luther is walking around, so I'm talking more because I'm not really thinking of what to do. I'm just sort of like, this is the in-between time. There's a term in Japanese pro wrestling. I think it's the root word is kan, K-A-N, and it just means interval. So it's that in-between time. Great Kabuki, which his name's Takachiho, he's known as one of the best at in-between time. Like, he could make a match for like 40 minutes and basically, quote unquote, do nothing, which is all the in-between stuff, the moving around, the front face locks, which I just tried one, but I'll try one. Didn't work either. So they're both strong because I'm not wrestling a lot. Got a standing leg lock there on Lindsay. Maybe I'll get to. I got the Olympic champ at ringside, so bring that. So their energy, their stamina is not being sapped because we're not doing a lot of holds, not trying a lot of. I can turn the gas up a little bit here, sort of go more. I'd say we're going like quarter speed, so we could kind of go a little more like 2/3 speed. So a little more path hold the submission a little longer. Oops. Sometimes I'll forget and hit a strike, but I try to avoid the punches in the gym. I try to keep those in matches. But sometimes I just and that would sort of like be in the gym properly. You're gonna get hit a bit, even if it's a friendly training session. These guys are roughly the same size. O'Connor is more closer to 6 foot or 5'11". Luther Lindsay is like 5'7", 5'7.5". But at the same time, he's like 250 or 260. So very much a running back physique and Pat O'Connor wrestling background. But Luther Lindsay was like a legend in Calgary, especially with Pat O'Connor. Not Pat O'Connor, but Stu Hart really just like revered Luther Lindsay. The story is that he had a picture of Luther Lindsay in his wallet that he kept, and he'd pull it out and he'd say, That's a great wrestler. So he didn't necessarily have pictures of his family, but he had a picture of a pro wrestler. And legend has it that Luther Lindsay, who has a football background, but actually learned enough from Stu Hart, and probably he broke in Ohio when it was sort of a shoot style territory under Al Haft in the 40s and 50s. He probably learned enough wrestling to beat shooters, although he also, Ohio had was reputed with like the toughest shooters in the nation. The promoter there, Al Haft, he was a shooter himself and a pro wrestler, and he was actually head coach, and he led Ohio State to amateur wrestling championships. So that's how strong the crossover was in history, periodically, or like for a long time. So, to my understanding. Remember which gamepad controls which guy. Sometimes I forget. Pat sort of making a run there with that counter salto. Just sort of like working the double shots. So this probably isn't 2/3 speed. I mean, this is still, they're going half speed, like almost demonstration speed. I wouldn't be talking like if we go 3/4 speed, you would hear almost nothing. I may do that a bit, but not sure if I'm going to bring in Lopez. I try to wrestle sort of credible ways, so Lopez would really be a lot to handle in the ring, even for two talented wrestlers. I mean, he would have like 70 to 90 pounds on each of the guys in the ring. So to make it believable, or that's always sort of the aim for me, is to kind of make it believable. Not just have Lopez come in and just, he's 6'5", he's 330, and he's just getting destroyed, or it's like a back and forth. Like his size, even though Pat O'Connor's good and he's got a strong amateur background, probably knows more submissions than Lopez, but like the size disparity plus the pedigree of Lopez would factor in. Like the size would definitely, I would keep that in mind. So if I bring him in, I'll kind of show you that. But I'll just keep him going a bit for now. The thing is, if you human control, you can really kind of extend out the game and make it like, if you use psychology, there's only a certain amount of moves that each player can do, and it's probably not more than like 15 moves, not including off the ropes. But if you use psychology, you can take those 15 moves. I haven't used probably more than 6 or 7 moves at most for each guy. So, and I don't know how long it's been, but however long it's been, 10 minutes or so. And it was able to fill up 10 minutes, whether or not, whether it's your cup of tea or not. yeah, this is probably about 50% speed match. And then when it's in the arena match, that's really going for it. But even then, I try to use psychology to sort of, what are they thinking? So, like, for example, you would say, well, they're not doing anything, but actually they are. If you consider that, the psychology part, psychology is doing nothing. So they're looking at each other. It's like, what's Luther Lindsay thinking? What's Pat thinking? Just like staring. Well, you would presume they're thinking, how do I outsmart this guy? Or I guess in competitive sports, like reading your opponent, reading his eyes, reading his body language. How can this is a difficult opponent. So if it's a difficult opponent, you're not just going to throw all your offense, just like try to overwhelm him with your offense. Typically, if the opponent is good, you're gonna be a little more wary. I mean, within the sort of framework of working a wrestling match and making it look as something of value or something look like something important. Tension breaker to like go against the ropes like that. You don't see it a whole lot because the computer will never do something like that. It'll never hang up lay in the rope like that. Like this, the computer will run, but it'll back and forth. But I try to make the moves seeming organic rather than mechanical. So lay in the ropes 3 times or so. Tries to take advantage. So the ref is like way out of position a lot. There's a punch, a rare punch in the gym. But sometimes there'll be a strike like that. I try not to make a super huge deal out of it, but I do avoid the striking just for effect. Everything that I is for effect to make it really like a gym friendly sparring session. So, I don't know. I may just have Lopez come in and sort of overwhelm both these guys. But, so we'll have Luther take a breather and have mijaín, 5-time Olympic champion. The only person in modern Olympics history, I think 5 times. So, and not, his ring psychology will be low, so he wouldn't be so into wasting a bunch of time. Sometimes that's not what I'm trying to do. just trying to show off his strength, basically. And then Pat, like the ultimate hand in wrestling, like selling, making somebody look strong. And then it's like you could really try to make somebody work for a hold. Like O'Connor hasn't had like one successful hold against Lopez. And I would just keep it, I would just keep it deposit in the middle. Cajoling him. I don't know if I'm using that word right. It's head scissors. Gets a salter for his efforts. But even though he's an Olympic champion, I'm still it's still a friendly training session. So. Exactly, but now Pat, you could see Pat was sort of tired. Give Pat sort of a rest here. I'll have Lisa come in. Give it a go. And probably just sort of a similar, now this is where it sort of is fun for me, like the creativity of it for me is like imagining how, their skill level and what it would look like if Luther Lindsay and mijain Lopez, and just try to do like a reasonable sort of facsimile thereof. But I like Luther and I like Pat, and but I would definitely put mijain at a different level, if only for the size. Wrap this up. My battery on my computer's actually up there. So, yeah, we'll just leave it like that. With Pat O'Connor and Luther Lindsay leave it, and that's Fire Pro Gym Workouts. Scan for now.